Hi, everyone, and welcome to Build a Second Brain with Notion. I'm super excited to have you here today. Feel free to type into the chat where you're from, and also if you've ever used the second brain methodology. And just to quickly go over today's event agenda, we're going to start with an introduction, and then I'll be covering what is the second brain, and then we'll be building together a simple second brain in Notion that you can also build off of. And then after that, we'll be having a Q&A session, and then you can check out the freebies, and I'll share all the links with you at the end. So to get started, the Organized Notebook specializes in designing Notion templates that can help you optimize your workflow, organize data, and increase productivity. Be sure to check out the website and template store if you're interested in freebies and also free resources to help you get started. I'm going to go ahead and put the link to the website into the chat for you all. And my name is Sara, and I've been using Notion for several years now. I really love how it's an all-in-one tool and that you can do so many things with it. And there's just so many use cases, from people managing hundreds of employees all the way to personal use cases like this one with the second brain. So I think that there's just so much possibilities, customizations with Notion. And I personally really like the way that Notion AI handles a lot of things nowadays with the AI agent. So I really love it as a tool. So a few notes about the event. Be sure to add your comments to the chat. Please keep the conversation respectful and about the event. And just as a friendly reminder, the chat section is to discuss this event and Notion related topics. Messages not relating to these will be moderated and removed if necessary. And there is a slight lag between my talking and also the YouTube live stream. So if there is a lag between me answering your questions in the live chat, don't worry, I'll be answering them all at the end or during the session if it relates to the topic. So let's go ahead and talk about what is the second brain. So let me know if you've heard about the second brain or building a second brain. Feel free to type into the chat. Have you read the book? Something that I've also found, a lot of people mention the second brain without really knowing the origins of it. And I just wanted to explain a bit about exactly what is the second brain and what is this methodology. So this is a method coined by Tiago Forte, which involves unloading knowledge into a digital second brain. And if you haven't read this book, I really recommend it because I think that there's just so many details in the book that can really help you to streamline the way that you process your notes and your knowledge into a knowledge base where you can actually really use that knowledge. So I'm going to share the link to the book for you all. So I'll put that also into the chat. But basically, a second brain is really useful for people who often have a knowledge overload. So the amount of information we can access online was unimaginable in the past. So if you think of it that way, it's just impossible to save everything you read online and then actually use that, just because there's just so much information. So the whole idea of the second brain is to be able to actually use what you find online or through meeting other people or listening to other people talk, and then have that be very useful when you need it. So, for example, you don't know why or for what you're taking notes. You can never find the notes when you need them. So all of these things are covered by building a second brain. So next, note-taking. So at the essence of the second brain is note-taking. So notes are what make up your second brain. And Tiago Forte talks about the code system, which is to capture, organize, distill, and express. And what that means is that it needs to be really easy to capture those notes. But then after that, you need to still organize them and then sort of distill them to their core and then express it. So even the process of note-taking, there's a lot of intricacies there as well if you want to take really efficient notes and be sure that you have that kernel of information that's actually useful. And there's also the PARA method, so projects, areas, resources, archive. And this is really important, especially for building a second brain, because essentially those are your main folders. So no matter what platform you use, whether that's Notion, your own filing system, you can even do this in a physical filing system. So there's really a lot of ways you can do the PARA method, but essentially you want to organize all of your notes into basically 3 distinct areas, and also remember to archive notes that you no longer use. So the projects are basically things where you have a set end date and a goal. So that can be renovating your house, your writing a book, things that you have a clear goal in mind. Those are projects. Then there's also areas. So areas are areas in your life that you might have relevance to. So that can be family, that can be your business, and so on. So those are areas. So those are ongoing things that you want to take notes about. Then there's also resources, which you can organize those for when you need them later. Those are more sort of a catch-all that you don't quite not need them, but you do need them. So that could be like marketing resources, things like that, that you definitely might want to consult later, but you don't have like a clear life area for them. So that's the essence of the PARA method. So why is this useful? By doing this, you basically eliminate mindless note-taking while never losing any of your notes. So what happens is you have this place where you can have all of your notes come in, and then you can decide which folder does it belong to. And then if that doesn't really relate, then you might not even need that note. So it's really important to actually process your notes. And at the end, if you don't even need those folders, you can archive them. And then maybe in the future, if you do need them, you can always bring them back. But to have these very active areas of your life, projects of your life, resources in your life that you have in mind as you're taking notes is really important, so that you can always take useful notes. So basically you can capture what's essential, easily find it, and share it. And notes aren't just about studying or learning. It can also be the building blocks for creativity. So when you're looking through all of your notes, you might find some really inspiring information that you might not have noticed if you don't do regular checks through your notes as well. So that's another important factor for note taking. So next, we're going to start building the second brain. And to build, if you're following along, feel free to open up an empty page. But I'm first going to show you what we're going to be building before we start building. So then I can also explain a bit more about these folder areas and also what to keep in mind when you're building a second brain with Notion. So this is basically what we're going to be building today. And it consists of 2 databases, one for your folders and one for your notes. And your notes are related to the folders. So basically what you can do is, if I just quick add a note, let's say that I have a sudden idea about a family restaurant that I want to go to. So I'll put family restaurant to go to. And then when I do have time, after I take that note, if I'm in my inbox, you'll notice there's no folder attached to it. Then I can do a bulk organization of all of my notes and then put them into the correct folders. So this one would go into family like this, and then my inbox is basically empty. And then if I go down here and I open up my family area, you'll see all of the notes relevant to this active area. And once an area is no longer a active part of your life, or for example, projects is over, you can always archive them. And that means that you can still have access to it. And that's also why Notion is so powerful, because you don't ever lose anything and you have this endless space to take notes, which if you were taking notes in a notebook, it would take so much space and it's also harder to organize. So This is really useful. There's also the search feature inside of Notion. And later on, I'll also show you how you can utilize Notion AI to actually even categorize the notes for you or even pull up information that you might have forgotten about. So that's a really good use case for Notion AI that I highly recommend, especially with the second brain. And you can also see here. So let's say that maybe your kids grow up. You don't need to have this family area anymore, and it's just not that relevant in your life anymore, then you can also archive that. So all of these things can be archived and it's going to show up here. So if I mark this one, it's going to go here. I can always unmark it if I want it back. So that's basically the essence of what we're going to be creating today. And I noticed there's a comment in the chat. Hi from Atlanta. I've never understood the second brain method, so thank you so much for this class. No problem. Yeah, that's actually something that I get a lot is people don't fully understand what is the second brain. It's just such a popular word nowadays. But yeah, highly recommend reading the book as well. And nice to have you here. So if we're here, we can go to an empty page and get started with building out the second brain. So first you can add the cover photo if you'd like, as well as an icon. I'm going to change the icon to something more note-taking. So I'll put note or notebook. Nope. So that's something I kind of wish Notion would change, is that I cannot ever type notes in here for the icons. And then if I click the three dots here and then I go to small text full width, then I have a lot more space on the page, and I'm going to actually rename this one to second brain. And now we can get started. So normally I would recommend to add your databases into your special section for databases, whether that's, well, now you can have multi-source databases, so you could have it all housed in one database. But anyway, a section where you have your databases stored in a safe space. But in this case, since we're only using 2 databases, I'm just going to build this out as inline databases. So on the left-hand side, so first we're going to actually do 2 columns. So I'm going to do 2 columns. On the left-hand side, I'm going to do my notes. So we're going to do heading 3 and notes and then slash divider. And then on the right side, we're going to do slash heading 3. And then we'll put our folders slash divider. And now we can start adding the inline databases. So let's first build the nodes. I'm going to do slash and then inline database by clicking here. And I'll do a new empty data source. And this one's going to be called notes. And I'm going to name this something really easy to find because we have to do a relation later. So I'm going to do something like 2025 event like this. And then we can click here, the 3 dots, and then hide database title so that we have a more minimal look. And what I also like to do is to add notes inside of here as if I'm actually using it when I'm building it out. So I highly recommend this approach whenever you're building anything in Notion, is actually put sample information inside. And then you'll really easily be able to know what properties you'll need and what exactly you might want in here. So I'm going to go ahead and add one here. So let's say that this one is web design ideas, and that's the name of the node. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add a created date. So I'm going to click the plus sign here and select created time, and that's just going to timestamp it. Then I'm also going to add a tag here, and I'm going to do that using the multi-select property. And multi-select means that you can select multiple items here. So if you have a lot of categories or ways you want to tag it, you can add more here. So I'm going to put, let's say that this is an article. And then we can even add a URL. So click here, add the URL property. And then See if there's anything else to add. And I think for now this is good. So I'm just going to keep it like this. And the next thing I'm going to do is to take a look at the folders database. So we'll be coming back to this one. So on the right hand side, we're going to do /inline. And I'm going to click database inline and we'll do folders. And again, I'll do event 2025 so I can easily find this database name. I'm going to click the three dots here, hide database title, so it looks a bit cleaner here. And I'm also going to rename this one view all so we can see everything inside of here. So let's go ahead and add the folder, which is for this note, which was web design ideas. So I'm going to go ahead and click here, web design project. And for the folders, I like to see things visually. So I'm going to go ahead to actually change the layout view into a gallery view. So we can add some photos. And then when you're in here, you can check some of the settings. So I want the card preview to be page cover. And I'm also going to change the size. Actually, I'll keep the size to medium. And there's actually a new feature now where you can have compact cards. So not everything has to be on each line when you have a lot of properties. So this is something that's also very nice. And then we can go ahead and add that cover photo. So we're going to add cover. And we can then change the cover. And let's go to Unsplash for a huge stock image library. So I'm going to go ahead and find web design image here. And let's go ahead and choose this one. So now it should show up here. And as I mentioned earlier, we need to categorize our folders into the para system, which means projects, and then we have areas, and then we have resources, and then an archive. So to accomplish that, we can click the plus sign here, and we're going to look for a select property. And the reason why it's a select property and not a multi-select property is because with the para system, you have to be clear which folder this note belongs to. So you don't want to add multiple of the same notes into the different folders. So that could get really confusing. So it's really important to make sure you have a clear boundary between the categories of folders. So I'm going to click select, and then I'm going to put type. So we're going to have 3 types. So that's going to be projects, and that's going to be areas, and that's also going to be resources. So now we have 3 kinds. I'm going to change the color by clicking the 3 dots here. Let's say I put pink for this one and blue for this one. So web design project, it belongs in projects. And to accomplish the archive part, we're going to click the plus add a property, search types, and then I'm going to choose the checkbox, and I'm going to call this archive. So when you click that, it's going to go to archive, but you're still going to see what type of folder it is. So that's going to be really useful. And Maggie says, good afternoon from Belgium. I've started using Notion just this year and heard a lot about it, but never understood it fully, but I do want to learn. Welcome, and so happy to have you here. I hope that this brief tutorial is going to help you to sort of get started with Notion. It can definitely be a little bit intimidating at first, but yeah, it's best to start small. And I think that this is a really good starter project, actually. Thank you so much. I'm glad that the formula video was useful. I tried to keep things simple, so hopefully it's useful for beginners. So for the web design project, now we're basically done here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to show those properties. So you don't see those right now. So I'm going to go to the settings here, and then we're going to go to property visibility and then type, and we'll show archive. So now we see our web design project here. Let's go ahead and add 2 more folders just so that we cover all the bases of the para system. So for that, we're going to add an area. So for area, let's say this one is for family, and I'm going to put the areas here. And then we can even add a cover photo for family. And we'll put this one here. And actually, something that I also really like about the second brain system is that it goes from your sort of work life all the way to your personal life. So everything is in one place, which I think is really useful. So we have family web design project. Let's go ahead and put a resources one. So let's say that these are marketing resources. And I'm going to put like this. And now we have 3 folders. Let's go ahead and add a cover photo for this one on Splash, and I'll put marketing. So yeah, now we have 3 folders. So the next thing I'm going to do is to actually click the settings here and turn on groupings. So we can group it by type. And I'm going to show everything. So we have areas, we have projects, and we have resources. And if there's no type, it's going to be here. And one thing you can also do is if you click the 3 dots here, you can show aggregation. So you can see exactly how many folders are in each section this way, which can be really useful. The other thing I'm going to actually add already is the filter that this archive check mark is unchecked. And to do that, you can go to the filter button and then go to archive. And then we're going to do archive is unchecked and then save for everyone. So now if I check it, it's going to go away from here. So I'm actually going to duplicate this one. And I'm going to name this one archive. And maybe I'll also add an icon here. So some kind of X like this. So everything that goes into archive. Oh, actually I have to put this one to checked. So now we have archive checked and archived unchecked here. So if I uncheck this one, it goes back here. If I click it, it goes into here. So now our filters are working properly and we can get to the next step. So the next thing we're going to do is that we want to connect our notes to our folders. So to do that, I'm actually going to add something called a relation. So that's going to connect the 2 databases together. And to do that, we can click the search types, look for relation, and I'm going to look for the folders event 2025. So as you can see, it's really good to name these something unique so you can easily find them, especially if you have other notes databases. So I'm going to do this, and I recommend 2-way relation so you can see exactly how it's connected. So I'm going to turn this one on and add relation. So now we see folders event 2025, which is this database here. And I can actually already put here the correct folder for that node, which is going to be the web design project. So we can see that folder here. And to make this even clearer, I'm actually going to also add a database template. So I'm going to click plus new template. And for every new folder, we want to add the icon. And I want this to be a folder icon. So now if I click out and I make this one set as default for all views, then if I click here, it's going to give me that folder icon like this. So I'm going to go ahead and turn all of those on. And any new folder that you create from here on out is going to have that folder icon. So you don't have to do this step, but now we have matching icons so that it shows up really nicely when it's here in the folder section. So now what we can do is if I go now to the project, the web design project, you'll see the notes here. But if you have a lot of notes, this is going to look really cluttered. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go and hide this one. So I'm going to always hide. So now we don't see the note, but instead I'm going to add a tabbed layout. So this is one of the newer features inside of Notion, but you can go to tabbed layout. And then I'm also going to turn on full width. And then if you go to add a new tab, you can already see that it's related. So I'm going to click this relation. I'll actually rename this one to be notes. And then you can see all of the properties. So one property you might not need to see is the folders. So I can actually hide this one. And you'll be able to see all of your notes inside of here. And I can apply to all pages. So now if I click out and I click on family, you'll see there's no notes inside of here, but I can always just add a note in here. So family notes like this. And then if I click here, you'll notice that it's already in the correct folder. So as you can see, this can be really useful. Let's say that this was from a meeting and you'll see those here. And a huge part of building a second brain is also that you have time to actually process your notes. So I'm actually going to go ahead and duplicate this one and call this one an inbox. So what you want in the inbox are all notes which don't have a folder assigned to them. So for here, I'm going to put a box like this. And then we're going to add a filter. So I'm going to go ahead and click the settings here, filter, and I'm going to filter if the folder is empty. So now, if I have a new note where the folder is empty, so let's say I add a new note, and this one is some marketing tips article notes. And if I go to my inbox, you'll see that here, and I'll know that I need to add that to the correct folders that I have here. So now my inbox is empty and you can see all of your notes here. Another thing I would recommend with your notes database is to make sure to add a sort. So you want to see the newest notes at the top. So I'm going to organize it by created time, and I'll change it to descending like this. And then we'll see the newest ones at the top like this. And now that I added the marketing tips, those are going to actually show up now also in the marketing page here inside of notes. The next thing I wanted to quickly show you, so we're basically done with the setup here. So this can be a really great base to build off of if you're looking to build a Notion second brain. I think this is really easy to use and also to modify. You can click the plus sign here and now add a button so that you can have a quick action button. And this one would be quick add note. So another really big process of Tiago Forte's second brain is to quickly be able to capture things. So capturing it when you first notice something or you have a note that you want to add is so important, because otherwise you're going to forget about it later. So if we click the plus new action, we can add page 2, and then we're going to select the data source, and that's going to be our notes database. So notes 2025 event, and it's going to be a new note. You can even have specialized buttons that would already select what kind of type it is already for you, and so on. You can then open that page and page added in center peak, and then done. So what that looks like is I can quickly add the note here and jot something down. Let's say that we have a web design meeting note, and I could add the correct folders already and do something like this, and then we'll already have it here with the correct folders. So that kind of quick add button can be really useful. And then the next thing I wanted to quickly show is how useful Notion AI can really be, especially this new agent. So let's say that you don't fill any of these out. So you've captured a lot of notes, you have your folders, but you haven't had a chance to actually categorize them into your folders. And obviously these notes are really clear where it should belong, but if you have a lot of notes that you need to quickly categorize, Notion AI can be a huge help. So if I click here, this is my Notion AI. I can just ask it, can you relate these notes to the correct folders? And then enter. And since I have the edit mode on, it can actually make changes to my pages for me. And sometimes it can crash, but a lot of times it works great. So let's see what happens this time. And hopefully it's going to add it to the correct folders for me. So we can see the inbox is now empty. If we go to table, you'll see web design project, marketing, family, web design project, which matches exactly what it should be over here. So as you can see, a very powerful feature. You can see exactly what changes it made. So if you don't want that, you can always undo it as well. But I would recommend using this as a way to surface up interesting notes, have it already categorized for you, especially if you have a really clogged inbox. This can be a huge help to decide where things should go. So that's the basics of creating a second brain with Notion. If this went too fast, this is going to be recorded, so you can definitely rewatch it. And you can also really add your own spin to this. I would recommend keeping the para system here. So having projects, areas, and resources. But otherwise, the way you take notes, the way you categorize those notes, and the way that you add the properties, you can really customize that to your own needs. So if we go back now, I just quickly wanted to show you the Ultimate Second Brain template plus tasks template. And currently there's a 40% discount code with DEC40 during checkout on most premium templates, and also course 30 for 30% off course tiers if you're interested in learning more about Notion from scratch and going step by step with different topics. And I'll just put the links to that in the chat here. But even if you're not interested in the template, I think it's really useful to also look at what's possible with the way you can customize it. So hopefully this can also give you some ideas as well. So I'm going to go ahead and add those links here for you. So with this template plus tasks, oftentimes with the second brain, what's kind of lacking is also task management element. So you might want to do your notes and task management all in one place, or you might have tasks associated with specific folders. So in this case, you can see that there's projects, there's areas, there's resources, and there's also archive or done, and then there's no category. So the basic setup is the same, but you can add notes as well as tasks to it. So it doesn't necessarily only have to be a note. You can also add a task, and the tasks can be useful, especially for things like projects. So if you're publishing a book, it might not just be notes you want to take, but you also want to keep track of your tasks. And here in the tasks, you can see what's due today, tomorrow, or due, and also all of these things. But you can also see your notes inbox. And just like with the template that we built, it's anything that doesn't have the folders database attached to it. So those are going to show up here so you can process those notes. And one thing that's also added here is weekly and monthly review. So you can review weekly, make sure you process all those notes, review monthly, make sure everything's processed, and see all of your reviews as well. So these can be really useful. And there's also mobile view, and these are all the databases. So we have 4 databases in here, basically notes, tasks, folders, and a reviews database. So that would be like a very fleshed out version of the second brain that we built here. Maggie says, I really wish they would let people have a limited access to Notion AI that resets every month in the free plan. I already ran out, but since I use it just for me, it doesn't seem useful upgrading. Yeah, I actually think that the fact that Notion AI is limited to business plan now is kind of unfortunate, because I think that there's just so much potential use cases also for personal use. So yeah, I would definitely agree. It would be nice to let people have some limited access to Notion AI as well. But yeah, it can be really useful for building your second brain and maintaining it. So I highly recommend also trying it out if you're able to. So next is the Q&A session. If you have any questions, feel free to type into the chat. I think I've gone over all the comments that were left in the chat so far. And if something pops up, you can always also email me at organizednotebook.info@gmail.com. I'll also put that into the chat for you all in case you have any questions. And yeah, I usually respond pretty quickly, and happy to also answer any sort of basic Notion questions as well if you have any that you're stuck on. So next we have the freebies, as well as just going over the discount codes one more time in case you're interested. So we have DC 40 for 40% off, Course 30 for 30% off, course tiers. The Notion Mastery course, Learn by Building, I actually just refilmed everything completely a month and a half ago or so. So it has one of the most updated information on Notion. Notion changes really fast. So if you're interested in that, be sure to check that out. And if you want some free resources and freebies to help you get started, you can check out this link here. I actually also have a Asian instructions page that's also for free in the freebies if you want to try out an instructions page for Notion AI. And that's actually you just have to click the icon here, and then you can see that I'm on my content creator assistant page, and you can edit the instructions and everything here. So be sure to check that out in the freebies. I also updated the free wallpapers and Notion cover photos for December as well. So yeah, they're all there. If you're interested in any one-to-one coaching sessions or custom services, you can always chat with me for a free consultation. So I'm going to go ahead and leave the link to that as well. And yeah. So yeah, if you have any questions or comments after this event is over, feel free to send an email to organizednotebook.info@gmail.com. I really hope that this event was useful for you all. And yeah, I hope to have more of these. So stay tuned, and I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of the day.